The sharing of tax records could help Homeland Security deport immigrants from the country. Data is showing undocumented immigrants have paid nearly $97 billion in state and local taxes. More than a third of the tax dollars paid by undocumented immigrants go toward funding programs and services that these workers are banned from accessing. They paid about $26 billion in Social Security, more than $6 billion in Medicare taxes, and nearly $2 billion in unemployment insurance taxes in 2022. Let's get to Cortes Romero. He's a dreamer who practices law under DACA at Novo Legal and has more on the implications undocumented immigrants may face now that the IRS plans to share tax data with ICE. Good morning to you, Luis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, Luis, I wanted to ask you, would someone in the country illegally be paying taxes? If so, how is that possible?
That's a great question. And the IRS has a process by which undocumented individuals can pay taxes through what is called an ITIN, an individual tax ID number. And so they're able to file taxes and report their income. And as you mentioned earlier, the undocumented population and the immigrant population in the U.S. Contributes billions of dollars into the economy and to the taxes. And so the IRS has a specific format and a specific procedure for this to happen. And with a specific promise, they told the community that they will not share this information with anybody, including the Department of Homeland Security. But now they're going back on their word.
And before I get to that, I want to step back a minute. So the federal government essentially allows for people in the country illegally to apply for these and work and pay taxes?
That's correct. It allows individuals who are working in the United States to pay taxes, even if they don't have a Social Security number. The IRS wants to make sure that everybody who's earning a living and earning an income here in the United States has a way to pay taxes. And so, and many undocumented immigrants do pay taxes, as you mentioned earlier. And so there's a specific process for them to do so. But now that welcome mat that they were placed in front of them to file the taxes is the same mat that they're using to pull the rug underneath them.
Okay, so this is a dramatic turn here, the sharing of this data between the IRS and ICE causing the interim head of IRS to leave. And this is a complete departure from what IRS has promised to do, separately even from matters of immigration. And so they're not going to be sharing this data, tracking down these folks. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, well, we know what the plan is that they plan to provide taxpayer information to the Department of Homeland Security so that the names can then be cross-referenced and vetted. And to be clear, this doesn't have to be just the individual filing their own tax return, but it could be U.S. citizen spouses who are they're filing jointly with their spouse. And so it's all taxpayer information that's going to be provided to the Department of Homeland Security. But not only is it bad policy because it might deter many workers from filing taxes and therefore contributing to the economy, but it's also very likely unlawful. There are regulations and policies that were in place that people relied on that when they filed their taxes. And so to have an abrupt change like that is very likely against the law.
Is there any movement right now in terms of challenging this move, trying to stop it from happening and moving forward right now?
Yes, there's currently a lawsuit being filed by this organization called Public Citizen, who is a nonprofit organization, and they have filed a lawsuit to try to stop this from happening. However, what we've seen from the Trump administration before is that, and we saw these with the flights to El Salvador from the Venezuelan migrants, is that sometimes the operation is already on the move before it was announced. And so we don't know what information has been already provided to the Department of Homeland Security prior to this announcement, but I know that people are moving quickly to try to get a judge to block it.
All right, so in addition to this, we also had the federal government saying yesterday that the DHS is going to be revoking the CB1 app for almost 1 million people who are in this country awaiting an asylum court date here, which means they're asking them to just leave the country altogether here. Did you expect this to happen?
Well, we knew that the Trump administration was going to come in with harsh policies, but we didn't realize that it was going to have a abrupt stop like this. And part of the reason we didn't expect that is because the Trump administration tried to do that in his first term, to try to have an abrupt stop to policies that many people rely on. That's what he tried to do with DACA. And the court said that when individuals rely on a government program to lawfully apply and get a benefit, in this case, the CBP-1, and the protections that individuals who came under CBP 1, then you cannot just have an abrupt change like that, because it's not only them, and their jobs and their communities that depend on them, but also there's so much at stake here. It's going to be a significant disruption when there's already a lot of disruption in the economy. I mean, we're talking about thousands of workers, and now many more who may not want to file taxes because they're feeling scared. And so, we thought that the Trump administration would have learned from the first term, but it seems like they're taking a page from the same playbook.
Luis Cortes Romero, immigration attorney at Novo Legal, thank you so much for joining us and providing your insight. This story far from over. We'll check in with you again.
Thank you.